Ago.
Hello and welcome to the Heritage On Air series right here on 97.3 City FM and on City TV. Now, we're doing a part 2 of our conversation on dance in post-colonial Ghana, the dance culture that had evolved from the late 50s post-independence all the way down to what has manifested to really what we're seeing in the 21st century at some point. But today we're going to focus a lot on the late 80s where we ended the last time and segue right into the 90s. And of course, I'm here once again with Mr. Terry Bright Ofosu. He's an assistant lecturer at the School or Department of Dance Studies at the School of Performing Arts, the College of Humanities, University of Ghana. It's a mouthful, but you see, all those things are very important when you understand the academic structure under which he operates. Hello, Uncle Terry.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm well, thank you. Okay. So the last time we started our conversation about dance culture in post-colonial Ghana, we established that music and dance, they are inseparable. They are bedmates, they are spouses, they are best friends, they are one and the same. And so a lot of the things that we were seeing musically, from the Adahan music, the brass band music that trickled all the way down from the 1920s, you explained, into the 60s, how Nkrumah used dance and music to connect to the popular people in running for elections and subsequently becoming the Nkrumah that we celebrate in 2022 and beyond. All these things had a lot to do with music, and of course dance came from that. So let's talk a little bit about, the last time we ended on that's very eye-opening notes that in the late 80s, when there was Miss Ghana and then you had the national dance competition, they were together. And so in trying to select the most beautiful ladies, maidens in Ghana, who would become the contestants for Miss Ghana, you would stage the national dance competitions. The dancers would come, they would dance, and beautiful ladies would always come and watch because they like the guys who know how to dance.
Exactly.
And from there, you are selecting your contestants. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I always thought there were parallel auditions or some kind of opening for people who wanted to contest to come through, both for Miss Ghana and dance. But I didn't know that one was used to fish for the other.
Exactly.
So let's just talk a little bit about that and how powerful a tool dance was in our culture in the late 80s, to the extent that we had to do something like that to get the beautiful women to come and contest for Miss Ghana.
Yeah, I think in the mid to the late 80s, the national dance competition was the thing. It was the go-to. Everybody, wanted to go and see the national dance.
What was it that was making it such a sensation?
I don't know. I think it was the trend. It was the new thing that was going on. But the underlying factor was that the winner would go and represent Ghana at the World Dance Competition. And you know that at that time,
a prize at stake.
At that time, in 1986, Ajete Sowa had gone to the World Dancing Competition and beat them all. So now we realize
he floored them.
In fact, he massacred them. So now we realize that it means that what we are doing in Ghana, we are doing something, or we are witnessing people who can flourish anywhere in the world. Because if Ajete could go there and go and beat them, and some of us had been dancing with him and competing with him in Ghanaian dance competitions, and some of us had given him hard time during competitions. You understand? So we know, and we knew that it means that there are people in Ghana who are doing very well, but for the fact that they always remained in Ghana. If they are given the opportunity to go out there, they were going to prosper. So Dance at that time was a very, very big thing. I tell you what, my sister, the one who comes after me, during the national dance competition, would prepare her dress for the competition 6 months.
Oh,
to
you're
the time.
kidding me.
Yes, 6 months.
That's how big a deal it was.
Yes, yes. So
What?
she would hang
6 months.
her dress 6 months before the time, and from that time she'll be looking for shoes to shoes to match the dress.
So it's just like anybody getting ready to go for any,
Big
modern
thing.
day
Today,
Ghana,
maybe
some
what comes
some
close-
red carpet event
Exactly.
or something of the sort.
What comes close will be the
It was that
music
big a social
awards.
event.
Yeah, it was a very, very big social event.
So just to segue a bit, what kinds of things were people wearing to these national dance competitions? As if you're preparing your dress 6 months ahead of time, then it was a big deal.
My sister told me, and at that time, because I was participating in the competition, she normally comes with my brother,
Okay.
my elder brother. So I think they were working together. And the dress that she was wearing, they met some men at the gate as they were entering. And then they said one of the men exclaimed, "Hey, Emma Penny, Emma Wagano." You know, they looked very flamboyant and very gorgeous. You understand? So it was a very big thing, you know. And for me, my heart was broken when in 2002 I experienced the national dance competition at the backyard of somebody's house in Osu. I was,
Are you serious?
yes.
But where were these competitions being held prior to this? I would talk about a very terrible experience in 2002. Where were these competitions being held originally?
Okay, so during my time, it was in Star Hotel, which has now been demolished, and they've created some estate around the cantonment post office, thereabout, around Elwak, thereabout. So
And that was a big hotel.
yes, it was. It was one of the national hotels, Star Hotel. And so it was held there for some time. Then they moved it to the trade fair, one of the pavilions. But I think what happened at the point was that there was a split, organizers and sponsors. They split into two. So organizers had theirs, sponsors also had
So
theirs.
there are two different competitions.
Exactly. And that was my plight. So what was happening at the world level was also being replicated at the national level. Because when I won, when I think Slim Buster won the national dance competition, at that time, Ajete had won the Caesar competition. So Ajete had been in the UK for like about a year, in 1985 or so. He had been in the UK. And Slim Buster was also supposed to go and represent Ghana. When they got there, the organizers and the sponsors had split into two
Wow.
at that level too. So Slim Buster went to the organizers competition and he was late. And Ajete went to the sponsors
sponsors.
competition. So Malibu was the sponsors. So Ajete won the Malibu dance competition. But Slim Buster went to dance the sponsored Concord. They were called Concord artists. Their dance competition, and he danced non scoring because he was late. You know, and it was a habitual thing for the Ghanaian contingent. Every time we were late.
Why?
Because of the processing of the papers and all that. We're only late. I don't know. I don't know why. You know, but it was during my time when I won and I had to go and represent Ghana. They squashed the whole thing.
So this was which year?
This was in 1989, getting to 90. You know, so they canceled the World Housing Competition. So when I went to UK in 93 and I went to look for them. And when I saw them, I told them that I was a dance champion and that I should have come to represent Ghana in 1989 and that I just wanted to know what, I don't know whether it was because of my accent or what. They laughed at me like for 30 minutes.
Wow. Wow.
that I was too late.
Like way too late.
Way too
4
late.
years late.
Yeah. And I said, no, I'm not trying to say that I wanted the competition now. I'm just trying to see what is happening with the competition. Because I had wanted to investigate to be able to get the franchise. You know. But they saw the funny side of it, and you know. But yes. So prior to the 1990s, this was what pertained. And then in the 1990s, the competition now settled. And then we had 91 competition, 92, 93. Then it was in 93, after the competition, it was going. They were now giving cars. I got a television.
And by this time, we were already in the Fourth Republic.
Yeah.
Did the political temperature of the country at the time affect how things went with the competition and with dance in general? I mean, in hindsight.
Yeah, so what was happening was now looking like a pseudo one-party state, because apparently the NDC had ruled from 81, 82, thereabout, all the way to 92, and then we changed.
Yeah. So that was a
Pretty much the same. Yeah, pretty much the same people. So there was some kind of stability. And so now people were now looking out for other avenues that they could relate to. And so all the youth were looking out to, the rap craze was becoming very predominant, okay? And so they were now trying to tap into it. Now, every foreign culture, yeah, that comes to us as a people, what we do is we adapt. Then once we adapt, over a period, we indigenize it, and then it becomes part and parcel of ours. So there is the looking at the rap as an adaptation, period. And the beginning of the 90s, that is what was happening. So even when we were doing the national dancing competition and Kwesi Cheidakwa came to
KKD.
be the MC, he was rapping.
His royal blackness.
Yes. He was doing the LL Cool J and then Cool Moody's raps, you know, adaptation. Okay, so we'll go through the adaptation, and then we'll go through a period where we begin to indigenize the adapted practice. Then it becomes part and parcel of us. Okay, so the adaptation period actually started in the 1990s, thereabout. But prior to that, we had done a rap music in 1985. Myself, my brother, and we had done a rap music. In 1985, we had produced a record, and that was all part of the adaptation.
So you, that's Terry, your brother Abednego, and then there was another gentleman, Lenny.
Lenny.
Yes,
Niadi.
Lenny. Yes, and you had, you even went international with it.
Yes,
really.
we actually produced the short plate. At that time, it was record plate, long plate and short plate.
It was produced by George Hassan.
Okay, so we did that, and that is all part of the adaptation period. Okay, so we did rap, but we're rapping in English with our broken English song, you know, trying to adapt what the Americans were doing.
And you were performing in clubs?
Yes, we did perform in clubs.
Both
but Ghanaians
music
were
and
not actually
dance.
buying into it. Yeah.
They weren't buying into the rap?
No. Because they thought it was anti-culture.
Okay, so does that mean that, the last time we spoke about the Wulame
Yes.
as a group and how the Gans in particular were really trying to go back and take the indigenous forms and what you term as neo folk,
Yes.
bring that into our everyday culture, our entertainment, our
Exactly.
nightlife, our dance culture as well. Had that become so strong that now people who are doing rap or anything that seemed foreign wasn't Ghanaian enough? Yes. Is that what it was?
That is what was happening. And don't forget that we are saying this against the backdrop that we had a government that was very, very socialist in thinking. So it had this anti-West kind of thing.
We must be Ghanaian.
Exactly.
We must be Ghanaian.
So there was no
and of
way.
course, I mean, we've just spoken about Ghana moving into the Fourth Republic, but the world was also coming out of the Cold War.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I think, I mean, and correct me if I didn't live during those times, but at least from what I've read, what I've heard, what I've studied, Ghana was also trying very hard not to be polarized along Cold War lines.
So we said we were not aligned.
Neither USSR nor American.
Exactly. Okay. So what was happening at the TV station, which was GTV at that time, Seoul TV station, the only television station, was that they wouldn't play anything. So what you take there, so they don't even have records of all the popular types of dances apart from high life. They don't have records.
That explains a lot.
You understand? They don't have it. So all those practices that pertained during that era are more or less like lost. So if you only get it through what we call autoethnography. That is exactly what I'm doing. What I experienced, what I've seen, what I've read, which I have imbibed, I can be able to give to you.
Otherwise, there's no record.
It is lost.
Uncle Terry, let's go for a break. And this is very interesting and something I want us to delve more into when we come back from the break. This is the Heritage On Air series here on City TV and 97.3 City FM. I'm speaking to Mr. Terry Bright-Ofosu. He's an assistant lecturer at the Department of Dance Studies at the School of Performing Arts under the College of Humanities at the University of Ghana. And we're speaking about dance culture in post-colonial Ghana. We'll be right back.
Ago. Ago.
Welcome back. This is still the Heritage On Air series here on City TV and 97.3 City FM. My name is Apioko. Now, I've been speaking to Mr. Terry Bright-Ofosu. He's an assistant dance lecturer at the Department of Dance Studies at the School of Performing Arts under the College of Humanities at the University of Ghana here in Accra, Ghana, of course. And we've been speaking about the dance culture in post-colonial Ghana. And we've been doing this over 2 episodes of this series, which is sponsored by Malta Guineas and Akosombo Textiles Limited, ATL. Now, Uncle Terry, just before we went on the break, I mean, you said something that just really blew my mind. And I guess because I've never thought about it that way. The fact that we're living at this time you're describing in the early 90s, so 93-ish, we've just come out of the we've just entered the Fourth Republic of Ghana. Our constitution, the popular 1992 constitution that we still talk about, is in full force. But we had been living under pretty much one government, even though they were now moving into democracy since the 80s. And now we're also coming off on the back of a Cold War, and Ghana said they were non-aligned. They were neither with the USSR, neither with the US, which are the key players in the Cold War. And now, at this time, Ghana was also trying to identify ourselves. What was our identity? What did it mean to be Ghanaian? And so the socialist government or the socialist elements of the government at the time that were prevailing made sure that people understood they were Ghanaian.
Exactly.
So you just mentioned something very interesting, that GBC, so that's our state broadcaster, which is our sole broadcaster.
At that time,
they wouldn't even air any music that was rap related, anything that was in high life or didn't have like a strict Ghanaian identity, as you would call it, wasn't aired. And so we don't have records of it.
Was vetoed.
Apart from the people like you who lived through the time.
Yes.
That
I remember
is amazing. But it explains a lot.
Yeah. I remember Kojo Akwai, may his soul rest in peace, is a musician who wanted to break boundaries. I remember he did a video on GTV, and he was the first person who was allowed to use ladies who were dancing and were a bit sensual, because his music was like ballads.
So very mellow.
Yeah, mellow kind of thing. And he was allowed to use ladies who were like a bit sensual.
What we call
you know,
the video vixens
yes,
in some parlance.
Yes, so, you know, at that time, you know, and even that, there were restrictions. We used to dance on TV a lot, you know. We used to back a lot of musicians, myself and Slim Buster, and two of our ladies, Elliot Mensah and Linda. We used to back a lot of musicians at that time on TV. And they would always tell you that you have to know your limits, you know, as to the sort of dances that you could do, you know. So somewhere in the 92, when we went, we relaxed our this a bit. That is how come some of us were able to go on TV and do a lot of, you know, but those days they were very strict. So talking about all the latest dances that came over time, they don't have records of them.
Wow.
They don't have records
Wow.
of them,
Wow.
you know. And so even in the newspapers, it's once in a while, because I research in popular dance a lot. So I go back, look at the old newspapers, and then be trying to sift out. Once in a while, you see them write something about bumps. And then once in a while, maybe some mess up somewhere.
But you may see a lot about Pan Logo, High
Exactly.
Life Movement,
Exactly.
Fulame.
The whole write-ups, you know. And I think at that time, and still up to now, a lot of people think in that
way.
that pop dance is not part of our culture. And that's a very erroneous.
So let's say 95-ish, mid-90s through to the late 90s into the early 2000s. What did dance begin to look like?
Okay.
Because
So,
by this time, hip life was taking shape.
Yeah. At that time, I had left the shores of Ghana and traveled. But when I came back, the little research that I made, I realized that Ghanaians, mid-90s, 95, thereabout, most of those who were into dancing, the dance craze was kind of dropping. So most of them were now trying to shift into rap and the foreign hip-hop kind of stuff, and trying to figure out how best they can blend the two. And then there was a section of them who were going into what they call asopo music.
Asokpo.
All right? And asopo, when you analyze it, it has the same meaning as azonto, cheap low life. So there were two parallels. Those who wanted to go the hip-hop, rap music kind of lifestyle, and then those who were doing the asopo. So this guy, I've forgotten the name. I've been trying to remember his name, but he sang a song. When I came, he was the guy who was the top asopo guy, you know, and I had to do a video of him. And he was telling me, oh, now that asopo music has gone down, but in the 90s, he was the top guy, and he came with some kind of local dances that the upmarket people did not want to see at all. Unlike Azonto, which when it came, people associated with it. That asopo style, people did not want to, because it was fast, it was very quick, and you cannot imagine somebody in tie, you know, suit and tie.
Jumping around and...
Yeah, but you realize that Azonto is a very cool dance that when you stand in your tie, you can... It has
stylish,
exactly.
stylish.
Exactly. So, yes, in the 90s, mid-90s, that's what actually pertained. So they didn't have a dance craze that was very solid. But getting to the late 90s, that is where Kogon started.
So I was about to ask, because I remember even being in school, every fun fair, every gathering of young people. In fact, in the mid-90s, you would want to dance to the foreign rap music, but by the late 90s, it was hip life.
Yes.
And Kogon would always represent in the choreography.
Exactly.
Always.
Exactly. So Kogon became the craze late 90s. Okay. And it was among the students and all that. Getting to the 2000s. And
we combine it with Bago.
Yes. In
Hey,
fact,
all the way down.
Bugle started in the 90s before I left Ghana. Bugle came from the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was there for some time, and then Butterfly, you know.
Yeah, the
so,
legs.
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
that so in the 90s, what actually happened was that a lot of the people, because of the coming in of the, and then the strengthening of hip hop, you know, people were now grappling with adaptation time. So even the dancers, they were just adapting them, yeah, and then trying to appropriate them, you know. But they didn't reach the indigenization level until the 2000s, late 90s, 2000. So it was at 2000 that you realize that people were now rubber stamping the locally created pop dances like Kogon, like Boy, all that. You realize that
Because this time Book Back and all these people had come. So
Exactly.
those dancers began to go with their music.
Exactly. I remember a dance came at that time. I don't know whether it's called Walking Stick or something. That Book Back and Co were all doing, you know. But it was a mixture between the locally created. It was a struggle, the early 2000s, because rap was now established, or Bravo and all those guys were trying to now establish the thing, and you could realize the confusion between what dances they wanted to do for the hip life. You know, there was some confusion because they didn't know whether to do hip hop or b-boy or what we call breakdance, or they should rely on the local. So the ladies will do very sensual waist kind of dances, and then the guys will be switching between hip hop.
Because dance hall had also become a thing
Exactly.
around that time.
Exactly. So the guys will be switching between hip hop and then the locally created as the boys and all that. Then as time went on, they tried to now drop the hip hop. And then we started creating new dances, you know. And then the pay and all those dances came into vogue. You know, the pay is the gunshot. Pay, that's what I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
So these were secondary school kind of dances that came into mainstream. And then Azonto came to subsume all of them, you know. And then here we are. The terrain
Terry.
changed.
You've really taken us on a journey over these past 2 episodes of and very properly done about the history and heritage, the dance culture that has prevailed in post-colonial Ghana. And one of these days we'll come to you on campus and actually learn how to do some of the dances properly with the correct technique, because I know you lecture dance technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll come and get the technique right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining
Technique
us.
Technique is the main thing.
Yes.
About dance.
Yeah.
You know, the whites have been able to codify the ballet. So what we need to be doing as a school is to codify Adowa, codify Palogo, codify the Azontos, codify all our popular dances.
It sounds like a plan.
The codification is about giving them names. So when I say do aka, aka means we are drying. Yeah. And you know, Azonto is wash and wear. So this dance I've codified as aka.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So
Uncle Terry,
that's about it.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching and listening to the Heritage On Air series right here on City TV and 97.3 City FM. Of course, the series is sponsored by Malta Guinness and Akosombo Textiles Limited, ATL. And I've been speaking to the very knowledgeable Mr. Terry Brightofosu, who is an assistant lecturer at the Department of Dance Studies at the School of Performing Arts under the College of Humanities at the University of Ghana. And my name is Apioko. I'll see you again, and do stay tuned to City TV and City FM for all that we have to offer for the rest of the month of March, the Heritage Month on City.
Ago.